this is what the Vega looks like now. You can see the metal flake. We still have to bury the flake. We gotta sand all this because the metal flake is just about like throwing a handful of gravel in your paint. So we have to sand all this, and we have to stripe it or flame it, or I don't know what we're doing yet. We're gonna lay a bunch of stuff out on it, figure out what's gonna look good. We'll just take tape, put it out, and we get something we like, we'll paint between the lines. But you can see the old Vega's changed. We'll get the motor back in it soon, get her to a track, which I'm looking forward to. If you get the light right, you can see kind of how rough that flake is. That is what we have to sand out and then get covered up. But that's just doing metal flake. There's not much you can do about it other than bury it. But it's going to be cool. So there's the beast after stripes. And you can see how much smoother the paint is now. So we got the stripes on it, and we sanded it once to bury the flake and put the stripes on it. And we'll need to sand it again. If you come in there close, you can see still little bumps from the flake. It's a hell of a lot better. We could probably just buff it and eliminate all that, but I want to bury the stripe because you'll still feel a little edge. So we'll sand that in. We'll 600 wet sand everything and redo a shot. If you look at the hood really close, you can still see some of the little imperfections from the flake. It's not. I mean, we're probably gone overboard for a race car, but it's cool enough.
You can see it in the stripe more than anything, honestly. Yeah. It's the easiest place to see it.
But it's cool enough, I can't leave that alone. We gotta finish this bad boy. Because this thing's gonna look crazy wild. Imagine this under the lights at the strip. It's gonna be fun.
Pretty traditional 70s stripe, too.
Yeah.
The pack.
So we stole a little bit of Yenko and a little bit of Sox and Martin, and Yenko never did a stripe like this exactly, but on a Vega especially, well, they never pointed one with a hump in the back. They never did that deal in the trunk, but we weren't really necessary. We were just trying to steal cues from everybody. We did want to put flames on it, but we decided we didn't really want to cover up all the red metal flake with flames, so we ended up with stripes. And I didn't know this little short car too with flames, it was going to be hard to do it to where it didn't make the car look like a dwarf, so we're trying to, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I think this looks pretty cool. And this has a little metallic in the stripe. So get it out in the sunlight, I think it'll look pretty wild. So we're gonna wet sand it one more time, put 2 more coats of clear on it, and then we gotta drop the old 427 back in and get her back together. But any little imperfections will be gone next time.
Yeah, all the stuff, anything that's in that paint is mainly just metal flake.
We can't sand it enough.
We couldn't sand enough without getting into the metal flake.
Because if this red metal flake, if you over sand, and you get into the flake turns silver. So you can only sand, so much, and you can't just keep putting clear on without sanding because it'll solve the pop. So this is just, the way it goes. But anyway, it won't take very long. One more sanding, it's really not bad now, so it'll be a pretty easy sanding. And then
that's it.
Shoot 2 more clear coats on it on Thursday. And
when we want to get to Bear and Circus car, you have to go through a couple clear coat sanding.
Usually when old Wild Bill and I get together on something, we go overboard. We did it again. But anyway.
I mean, it's going to make for a gorgeous job, though.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. Imagine this thing. I'd love to see a set of RC comps on here.
Yeah.
Like the old man has on his car.
Yeah.
That would be wicked. With this paint job and everything, that'd be wicked looking.
I think with a big block sticking through the hood, it'll be very...
Yeah, this thing... Hell, if it's slow as hell, at least it'll look good, It should be fun. I don't think it'll be slow, but... proof's in the pudding.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Alright, it's early morning. Time to make the donuts. So we've sanded all of this again to bury whatever was left over of flake. You can see now there are no spots. This is a nice smooth surface to paint on, which produces a nice smooth paint job. Any little issues we have with it, with dust or bugs or anything like that, will get buffed out. But for the most part, I probably won't even have to buff it. Generally, when I lay a clear over a job like this, it's pretty darn smooth. But we'll do whatever we have to do at the end of it. If it needs buffing, it needs buffing. But probably won't. But it looks pretty sharp now. So this will be the third time putting the clear on it. Once to bury the main flake, once to bury the stripe and what's ever left over the flake. And of course a pretty stout sanding in between, so there's not a crazy amount of material on it. And basically we're using clear coat like normally you'd use a primer to block sand something. Because I didn't go as crazy with the block sanding of the primer knowing I had to do this, so kind of that way you don't end up using too much time. And frankly, block sanding a whole lot of primer is just a waste of time at a certain point when you're going to do all this after. So because this blocks out any little scratch marks, imperfections, anything like that, any real small pinholes, anything that primer would normally fill, this fills. So actually even a little bit better. A little harder to sand, but other than that. So anyway, I'll put the clear on it, see what we got. There's the finished product. Like I said, don't really need to do a lot of buffing. Man, the camera sure as hell doesn't get this color though. Yeah, it does right there, a little bit.
Maybe if you get your head.
It sure wants to make it orangey looking. But it's gonna be pretty wild out in natural light, I can tell you that. But that's it. If you paint over a smooth surface, it makes a smooth paint job. And then with clear coat like this, just 2 shots of clear is all I did. And it's, it doesn't give it a lot of time for dust or anything to get in it, so it comes out real clean. And had 1 bug land in the hood, get that one out without a problem. That's about it. She's ready to rock. I've put it together now. We get it out here to show it off. Well, actually, we got it out here to get it out of the way of some other stuff we had to prime. But the old hot rod's kind of put together. Still got mirrors to paint. I'll try and do a little video of painting mirrors so you get to see how we do the metal flake. I do it dry. It's a little different. Obviously, there's a big hole there where the motor needs to go. We get that baby in there. We're gonna probably dyno it. I think we're gonna dyno it so we have the carbs right and stuff, or closer. And the transmission, we're just figuring out. We had something on the clutch that didn't work right, so we're just figuring out a little deal with that throw-up bearing. Maybe I should shoot a little film of that. And then it's a hydraulic throw-up bearing, and it's kind of an extended shaft, and nobody really makes anything. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of machine work and make something that works. But so those 2 things, we get the engine off the dyno and get that clutch figured out, we can drop this thing together real quick and get her back to the track, which will be kind of fun. So you kind of get to see it in complete form anyway. Just walk around it.
It's pretty dirty, but
Yeah, it's dirty. But it's still cool. Looks a lot better than a gray primer.
see a little bit with the sunlight how that flake will actually look.
And the flake changes every time it's weird stuff. I mean, you look at it, sometimes it looks black, and sometimes it looks streaky, and then other times it's just crazy flake, and it's pretty wild.
The rear stripe is definitely a throwback.
Yeah. That metallic, when you were in the light, the metallic and the black, it caught as you were driving out. It's really nice.
Yeah, it looks very nice. Well, where we can see it on the hood that it's not too dirty, it looks...
Yeah, unfortunately the black is so dirty that it's very hard to see, but it's we do have to hit it with some detailer.
You have a slight contrast.
But
But the grill and everything really finishes the front
Yeah,
of the car nice.
Yeah, I almost could have done that grill in a flat black or something, but I guess I'll leave it silver. Works with the headlight rings.
Yeah, or done your surrounded silver and then done like a black insert.
Yeah, I'll do a black insert. Yeah, that's how I would do it. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Should be nice.
Yep. Yeah, so this is our current situation. So this is like a Dodge shaft, 18 spline Dodge shaft. And it had a Dodge bushing on the end of it. This shaft was kind of weird. It had a sleeve on it to convert it up to the bigger size. So we just spun that sleeve off of it. And then we have to do a little more work here, because for this hydraulic throwout bearing, it's made to sit right up there close to your bearing retainer. So you have these little bolts that hold it from spinning. Sits in this pocket right here. We're gonna have to make a spacer to come out here so this thing is not way out on the end of this and just breaking it off. So we're gonna make a spacer for there, and then we'll get this all set up. We'll put it on the engine run stand. We'll set this tranny up there because we have to have this bearing the right distance away from the pressure plate. So this transmission is kind of hectic. It's heavy to handle. So we'll do that out where we can see real well and get all that done before we drop everything back in. But that thing's gonna have to sit way out there. So originally it would be back here, but with that long shaft, it's gonna be kind of in that area. We'll fairly easily get that done. We've got the machine tools, but just this here, we're gonna use they had a bearing retainer that was lengthened, and I think we'll just go ahead and continue to use that. But we'll have to make a better setup than what they had for this, because theirs broke off, as you can see, and then everything spun, and then everything went to hell. So that we have to deal with. And before also, we had a little thin bushing to work with that Dodge size snout, and that bushing just wallered out and went to hell. So the whole clutch just didn't work very well. If you watch the old videos of the car, you hear it grinding, it shifts into reverse and stuff, and just nothing was as it should be. So we're gonna make sure that's all 100%, and we'll drop it back in. All right. So you see how this works. You have to have these spacers that go behind it, and so that's why we have to set it up now. And we can use these. We have several that come with a kit, so we can use those to get our air gap exactly where we need it. And then of course with that clutch, if you keep servicing it, you can always keep that right, because you can change shims and that behind that pressure plate as everything wears. So it should work out pretty good. And the other thing kind of neat on these, if you want to do it, is put a line lock on your clutch pressure, and you can actually launch it off a button if you want to do that. So we might do that too. I don't know. Anyway, but this looks like this should work out pretty good. We've got to get some cap screws through here because they had fallen out, but that should finish it up and have a pretty good outfit.